the moment where we were selling, it was like a no growth basically. Maybe sometimes even a decline. That made it even trickier to sell because, well, companies don't want to buy other companies that are not growing. It didn't go as planned because the market started to change like crazy. Everyone is building products. If we were selling like 3 years before, we would get so much higher multiplied. The longer we stay in the company, the black swan effect is coming closer. If everyone feels a little bit uncomfortable, but equally uncomfortable, then it makes a good deal. I think there was a lot of relief that we saved the company, but on the other hand, there was also a lot of uncertainty. Think what you want to do with the company first, and then build it. Because if you don't know, that may cause you a big headache and some missed opportunities along the way.
Hello, everyone. This is Odyssey Podcast. My name is Aneta Samkow, and today I'm having a very special conversation with Michał Suski, co-founder of Surfer SEO, now Positive Surfer, and we're talking about acquisitions. Michał, can you give us numbers on Surfer before the acquisition? Whatever you can share, like ARR, team size, customers, profitability.
Sure. So we've been always profitable as a company. Started as a bootstrapped company without any investment from the very beginning. So for us, it was always organic growth by the selling more and more of the product, and well, we are jumping really fast to the acquisition from that. But yeah, so in a moment of the acquisition, we were a team of 70-ish, 80-ish people. It was varying on that moment because we were in a moment of transformation, figuring out where we should allocate the resource, maybe reflecting on hiring too many people during the last, let's say, 3 years. So when we got acquired, it was about 80 people, I guess. That's the number. And when it comes to the numbers of the revenue, I think it was close to 13 million a year. 13, not 30. 13, maybe 12, maybe 14. I'm not entirely sure because I'm not a finance guy. If you were talking to the finance guy like Tomek Siwieja or even talking to Lucian, CEO, he would have it right off the bat with the accurate numbers, but the ballpark is around that.
Okay. And how long have you been running the company before that?
So everything started in 2017, where we first agreed with Lucian and Sławek Czajkowski to start this venture first as a side project, and we were doing it for like year and a half. And then when we realized that me and Sławek, we can quit agency work, and Lucian was able to dedicate time to work full-time on building the product. That was like after a year and a half from the beginning. So say end of 2018, beginning of 2019, this is where we decided, okay, let's go full-blown product development instead of Lucian coding for some other companies and me and Sławek doing SEO for the customers.
Okay, I see. Yeah, you bootstrapped the whole way and you had 5 co-founders, correct? How does the idea of selling actually comes about?
It was the result of the circumstances that we found ourselves in because, well, you mentioned 5 co-founders, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you have people in a different moment in life with different approach to monetizing the company, what to do with it, what's the end game, what's the goal. And a couple years ago, uh, it turned out that mm, we started to disagree more and more in a company. And decided to part ways with Sławek. So we bought him out as the biggest shareholder, which turned out to be not that easy task,
Oh, wow.
because he owned like a lot of shares, and we had to pay it. So we had to figure out the money for that. At first, we thought that we can keep on growing the company more and more, so it will be easy for us. I mean, easy, not easy, but possible to basically make it with the revenues that is coming, maybe secure some extra money from outside of the company, and let's say it's maybe a bit rude, but clean the cap table, or at least get the whole cap table aligned on the same direction.
Yes.
Um, and well, as you can imagine, it didn't go as planned completely because the market started to change like crazy. It was at the beginning of the AI revolution. At
Yeah.
first, we started to make a lot of money on AI content. We started to increase the revenue streams from other places, not only reverse engineering of the SERPs. That was the um, original core product. But as you can imagine, the market became a red ocean.
Yes.
So a
Yes.
lot of competitors, a lot of people started building their tools. Even people in here, we are on SEO vibes, and I see folks that are around, and I know they are building the tools. They used to be our affiliate people, bringing us a lot of revenue, and now they are building their own tools, actually undercutting the revenue from us. I mean, that's the business.
Yes.
I'm not mad at all,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. So. We were in a threat. So we had to figure out the funds to finish buying out Slavik. And well, we got the debt. We started to roll the debt. It wasn't going really as planned. And in the meantime, we started obviously to look for potential acquisition. And it took us over a year from the first contact to actually having something concrete on the table. And that was actually the main trigger that leads us to selling the product so we can make it square for everyone, and basically take some chips off the table, right? Because the situation it is crazy times right now, isn't it?
Yes.
So we thought that the risking a little bit, because it was all on our personal, you know, the company is ours. So all the risks we take, these risks are personal. So we got some, let's say, valuation on the paper, but in the end, if something goes wrong, it's all on us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we decided that it would be a good idea to join forces with some other company that can help us cross-selling, that can help us optimize pricing, that can help us optimize operations. So this way we can keep profitability, and that was basically the trigger to make this happen.
Okay, lots happening, lots going
I
on.
I even
So it's
didn't
like
touch
crazy.
like it was like just to scratch the surface, really.
Yeah. So with you had to, on the one hand, buy out the shares, also take care of the product with the red ocean. But in the midst of all that, how do you make that deal acceptable to all the people involved so that everyone's happy? That must be very difficult with so many stakeholders.
Yeah, it's always a compromise. So if everyone feels a little bit uncomfortable, but equally uncomfortable,
Yeah.
then it makes a good deal. Because if you do a deal that is good for one person but really bad for the other, it's never gonna happen.
Yes.
Nobody is gonna sign it. But if you make the deal that is good, I mean, good, yeah, that is good for everybody. With obviously, everyone has expectations,
Yeah.
personal expectations, ego, and like, I expect it to be worth more. The other thinks it's good enough. So you have to balance it to the levels that everyone feels okay, but it hurts a little bit as well.
Yes.
And that's how you find the balance in a deal.
That's a very good approach, very interesting. So, could you actually walk us a little bit through how you prepared Surfer for sale?
In general, it's about making sure all the legal stuff is good, because we started as a group of friends. There was a lot of like a gentleman agreements. We've been just going with the flow.
Yeah, nothing signed on paper.
I mean, there were things that were signed. There were some things like for example, we used to have two planes at the company, like aircrafts. Yeah, Surfer owned two aircrafts at some point.
Oh wow!
Yes, and we need to sell these aircraft. We need to make it like because like SaaS company is owning aircraft, like, what the hell, right? So we had to straighten every path possible to the risk potential questions like, why is that?
Yes.
Why did you do this? Like,
exactly.
Where does it come from? And that was the biggest thing we had to prepare to get everything easy to understand for the buyer, so they feel safe that it's not a scam, that is not like a company out of nowhere with a lot of legal debt. I will call it a legal debt. So we made the necessary adjustments in all of these areas, and it allowed us to build the trust, because, well, obviously it's not a scam. There was nothing really done in a bad will whatsoever. But it raises questions that are unnecessary during the conversation with the potential buyer. So we had to figure it out. So there is no questions that can make a deal breaker. That was actually I don't know. You forgot about something, and then it becomes a problem while it shouldn't. So that was the biggest preparation of the company.
So having owning airplanes is an example of that. Yeah. So you had to clear things.
Yeah. Like, why do you have them? Like, what do you do with them? What was the reason? And what's the plan with it? And we laid out everything on the roadmap. Like, this is because of that, and we're gonna sell these planes, and it's basically the company asset that will turn into cash, and it's basically added to the valuation.
Okay.
Kind of crazy stuff. But,
yes.
Well,
due diligence is a very involved process.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so maybe you can tell us about it a little bit. What did the Positive Group team find that surprised them, or maybe that surprised you, that they actually cared about, that you didn't expect?
The planes.
The planes, yeah.
Yeah, but we were really lucky because that was a concern from the legal,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't the concern of the positive founder.
Okay.
He actually not only could imagine the situation, but he also said at some point that his father, who he got the company from, he also had a plane in the company.
Okay.
So he was like, okay, okay. So from the, it was only a problem from the accountants and legal, like
Okay.
why is it there? But we basically used these planes for a good reason. Me and Sławek, we were still living in the southeast part of Poland,
Yes.
where the agency of Sławek was founded in a village next to my place. And the headquarters was in Wrocław.
Yes.
And we have a small airport pretty close to our place. So couple of times we traveled from Krosno to Wrocław just to cut on commute. How
Commute
stupid
time.
is this?
It makes sense actually. In the States, it happens all the time. Like people prefer to fly in the four
Maybe they use
seaters.
heli.
So the sale price was never disclosed. So without asking for a number, can you just tell us how such bootstrap SaaS at your scale gets valued? Like, for example, what moves the multiple up? What drags it down?
It's profitability. It's profitability. Yeah, if you are growing profitability, the multiple goes up. And if you are like stabilized, like stabilized growth, it's like not declining, it lowers the multiplies. And I would say we got a really fair deal considering the circumstances. So to secure the funds, to get it all square with all the money that should be allocated in the places. But I can definitely tell you, if we were selling like 3 years before, we would get so much higher multiply because we were growing. Yes. The moment where we were selling, it was like a stabilized, like no growth basically. Maybe sometimes even a decline. Like we were dancing on the zero growth for 2 years.
Okay.
So that made it even trickier to sell because well, companies don't want to buy other companies that are not growing. You need to find another synergies. And we found another synergy with Positive because they've got a bunch of different SaaSes in marketing, mostly specialized in email marketing and marketing automation, like user.com and other companies sending emails across the Europe, in Germany, in Italy, in France. So we did the math, and it turned out that we will be able to cross-sell, we will be able to grow together as a full stack marketing suite, which is actually going to happen really soon. There's an integration coming where you will have one platform to deal with email, marketing automation, SEO, content, social. Like Positive acquired a social media company recently that is about like scheduling, writing, managing social media. So you can imagine it as a European full suite marketing hub that lets you work with email, lets you work with automation, lets you work with social, lets you work with content and
Very
SEO.
nice.
Yeah. So we thought it's very promising situation, and this is why they accepted us not growing yet stable with solid EBITDA and so on. So that allowed us to close the deal.
I see. So how did the first connection with Positive Group happen?
It was introduction from Mike Korba. He's a leader on user.com.
Yeah, they got acquired as well, right?
Yes, they got
Yeah.
acquired, and we started to talk. Tomek actually started to talk to Mike. How is it like? And Mike, maybe I will introduce you. Why not? Let's give it a shot. We were, talking to many different potential acquirers at the time, yet continue to talk to positive as well. And a year passed of just swapping an emails and
Oh, wow.
kind of getting used to each other, and it turned out that positive is really eager to do it. And well, then why not? It makes sense to do it, so we did.
And you chose to stay as shareholders in the positive groups, positive group as well, right? You
Yes.
decided not to cash out entirely.
Yes.
Why?
That's part of the deal. Skin
Okay.
in the game. You get it?
Okay, yes.
If you have skin in the game, you still want to make it succeed as a whole. And for me personally, it would be tough to get rid of everything I built. And
Yeah.
at this point, I still feel like I kind of own it. I treat myself as a part of the team, and I feel it because I still own something.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's mine. It's not I'm working for someone else.
So how long did it actually take from the first serious conversation to actually signing the deal?
Definitely over a year.
Oh, wow.
Definitely
Long,
over a
long.
year. Probably more like year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but maybe even
Okay.
2 years.
Wow.
That was a long
Long.
conversation. I mean, because even though you say, yes, we agree to do the deal, right?
Yeah.
Then you got all of the lawyer stuff. They will start exchanging information.
Yeah.
They will form the term sheet, and they will form the agreement, and it takes time.
And the due diligence, all those things. Yeah.
Horrendous amount of questions.
Yes.
Everyone involved. Lucky me, I wasn't too much involved in the due diligence, but I know that the tech team, marketing, there were a lot of questions we had to answer in order to pass it.
Exactly. So, actually, how and when do you tell the team? Since you mentioned that technical marketing was involved, when was that?
Yeah, so
point
we
you
were
disclose?
always open with the team that we are talking to
Okay.
potential investor, to potential acquisition partner. So it wasn't like a surprise, we sold.
Okay,
It was like everyone was involved, like everyone who had to be involved was involved from the very beginning, and we didn't keep it in a like a we didn't make a surprise for the people that we
Okay.
got acquired. It was a process and like common agreement that is happening, and everyone is on the same page that okay, we are doing it, this is the way to do it, and everyone will try to pull in the same direction, so we actually make it happen.
What were the reactions from the team?
From the perspective of us being on this stable or a little decline, I think there was a lot of relief that we can call it saved the company.
Okay.
But on the other hand, there was also a lot of uncertainty from the perspective like, will they interfere with our operations? Will they tell us to do this technology instead of the one that we were using, and so on? But we mitigated that risks at the very beginning, and it turned out to be not as painful as many people thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I would call it a smooth transition. I
Nice.
can't tell that it was like flipping the table and
Sure.
we are not Surfer anymore. Not at all. The culture stayed the same. The people are the same people. Um, okay, one founder left, Kazik left on this deal, but all in all, I would say the we kept the identity and we
Hmm.
kept the ways of working, and I can definitely say that it's not only us learning from positive, it's also positive learning from us, especially
Hmm.
on the AI side,
Hmm.
where we have a really strong dedicated team in this area, in data science, in AI development. So it's actually this uh, mutual benefit for both parties. Yeah, it's a really good situation.
Yes, sounds like relatively smooth
Yes,
and successful transitions. So looking back at the whole process,
I
was
would do
there?
it again.
Yeah, well,
I
okay.
would do it
Oh,
again.
that was
Yes.
one of my questions I had at the end. I wanted to ask, but that's very interesting. Was there like a mistake that you made or nearly made that you could warn other founders about?
Uh, yeah. Align on the day one was the goal of the company, if possible, or at least what are the personal goals of each founder.
Hmm.
And if you can't tell the first day, uh, revisit this question maybe every year or every half a year. Did anything change in your plans? Your plan is to grow the company and say milk the cow, or your plan is to grow the company and sell, or you don't have plans and whatever happens.
Hmm.
Uh, and the earlier you align with everyone, the less misunderstandings and the less conflict is there,
Hmm.
because if we go in the same direction, we can all work towards the goal that is uh, the same across the board, instead of, some people think, okay, let's find a VC or and
Yeah.
grow, or some say let's milk the cow, or some say let's find a big company that buys everything and forget. Um, so that's the advice for the founders if there is more than one.
Yeah.
But even if there is one, even if
Yes.
there is one, bro, you listening to me? But seriously, think think what you want to do with the company first, and then build it. Because if you don't know, that may cause you a big headache and some missed opportunities along the
Mm.
way. Because opportunities come along the way you are building, but you don't know what your plan is. And imagine a hypothetical situation.
Mhm, mhm.
You receive a deal on the table, and you didn't know whether you want to sell or you want to milk it. So you're hesitant, and then the time passes, and then the deal is gone, and you didn't react according to your best knowledge because you didn't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you knew ahead, it's so much easier to make a call, and that will be the
Mm.
right call because you will think about it earlier.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great advice. So it's been roughly like a couple of months since the acquisition process closed. Um, have your day-to-day activities changed now that
Not
you're
at
part of the
all.
group? No.
Not at all. Like for me personally, because I told you when we were talking in a cave,
Yes.
I told you I am down to earth with the
Yes.
people, building the product, analyzing methodologies, figuring out what the best way to deliver value to the customers. So my day-to-day job didn't change much. However, the exec team, like Lucian, is working closely with
Uh-huh.
Positive. Tomek, CMO, is working closely with the
Mhm.
CMO of the group, is also helping other portfolio companies of the group to do SEO, to
Mhm,
do
mhm.
AI optimization. So for him, it's slightly different for both
Okay.
of them. But for me, it's the same battlefield I'm entirely focused on Surfer.
Okay, so interesting. For you, nothing changed. For them, it's slightly different. So it really varies.
Yeah, it depends on your role,
Yes,
basically.
yes. So if a founder in this audience is listening to it and sitting on like a 3 to 5 million AIR company, also bootstrap, and they think about selling in the next 2 to 3 years, what should they be doing right now to make that exit happen?
EBITDA max. That's the we had this joke, but it's not a joke really. The investor will be looking at your margins. It will be looking at the EBITDA. So maximizing EBITDA is always a good thing, especially if you are not growing like crazy. So uh, if company is growing, fine, do whatever you want. But if it's not growing, at least make sure the EBITDA is secured or EBITDA is growing. So maybe ARR is not growing, but the profits are growing.
Okay, okay.
So there is always a way to optimize. So looking back at your decisions made a year ago, 2 years ago, hiring, using tools. Maybe it's a moment to reflect on that and see like, do I really need this? Do I really need that? And if there is at least a little bit of hesitant, like, do I? Then you probably don't.
Okay.
So making a healthy EBITDA is definitely a good sign because companies that are VC backed. You mentioned Bootstrap. This is really making a big difference.
Yes.
Because if the company is bootstrapped, it's different when it comes to profit margins, to EBITDA and stuff. But if you are VC money, you are often running on like a zero profit, spending a lot to scale. So this is a different story. But if we are talking about the bootstrap, it has to be like it has to be a safe place. It has to be healthy. It has to have like a profits, a runaway. It has to like if anything happens, it's on you. It's not a VC that will maybe pour some more money or something to fix the problem. No, there's no one to pour more money on you. So you need to be double cautious on the cost.
Okay. And you said you would repeat that deal in a second, right? No different terms, nothing. Same thing.
I mean, I would probably sell earlier.
Oh,
But
okay.
well, reverse engineering is always, easy when you know what happens, right? I can look back and see, if we sell when we were growing like crazy, that would be.
But you don't have that perspective.
Yeah, like in 2022, right? There was a lot of money on the market. Company was growing like crazy. We've seen multiplies for SaaSes up to like 15x, even 20x for smaller ones that were very promising. And that was a different situation. And when we were selling, the market was it wasn't the best market to sell the business. But like I said at the beginning, that was the best choice for us. If we could wait, that would be awesome. I mean, probably we could wait, but it was just a good deal, and knowing the situation with AI booming like crazy, with Claude Code allowing people to create their own in-house solutions. Maybe they were not pretty, maybe they were not having uptime 100% time of the day, but they helped in-house teams to deliver value. So they have like a lower bar on the maintenance and stuff, so they can have some sacrifices on like we can't. There's like 12,000 customers and 24/7 it has to work all the time. If you are building a tool in-house, well, if it doesn't work today, I will fix it tomorrow and run the report and receive my value. For us is different. So given the circumstances with people being able to start coding like crazy, it was just a good decision to start de-risking because times are the most uncertain.
Yes.
I mean, the cake is growing as well, obviously, because we've got new services. There is AI visibility monitoring. There is AI optimization for ChatGPT, for Perplexity, and so on and so forth. It brings new services for the agencies. It brings new services for us as a SaaS. We
Sure.
add value, so we charge more, and blah blah blah. But you know, the change is so fast that I always had this saying that the longer we stay in the company, the black swan effect is coming closer.
Yes.
You don't know if it's 1% chance or 0.00001. You never know. But another day you stay, it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Especially that it's a red ocean.
Yeah, especially that it's a red ocean and it's bloody ocean right now. It's really bloody ocean in a SaaS SEO optimization is really pure blood in the ocean. Everyone is building products, and we are lucky because we are on the market for many years. There will be a 10-year next year. So the brand is strong, the community is strong. We are kind of, there's a lot of brand signals for Surfer. So for us, it's easier to keep the position of the market leader in this area. However, everyone who is building their own products, if they do it only for themselves, well, they are their perfect client. So there's more and more in-house tools, and I see a threat in this area more than there will be another SaaS, another copycat of Surfer. We had the situation for years that at the beginning it was every quarter there's a new copycat of Surfer.
Oh wow!
Then it was every month, and then we started discovering a new copycats every week, and I was like, God damn, how many more? And we got used to it. And now it's even faster, but from the perspective of people building their own tools. So we adjust to the market. We jump on the something that is hard to be replicated, like this AI visibility stuff. It's really not that easy to keep it up for in-houses. So we kind of the risk as a product as well. So it's not that easy to copy because we know how much IP it required us to create, and if we know that okay, that was a shit ton of code and thinking, architecture, connecting all of APIs, connectors, and so on, we see like okay, it's not easy to copy now, but the core products we used to have like 5-6 years ago, the content editor that will give you the keywords you write and you see it in like a real time. You added this keyword, you added that keyword. This is easy to copy. You can send a screenshot to Claude Code of Surfer's content editor and it will produce something that will look similar, that will maybe not be as accurate, but well,
similar at least in theory, right?
Yeah, in theory, it will give you the perception that, oh, I saved myself $99, right? A month. Yeah, that's the logic.
Would you say that joining forces with Positive and building this more holistic, all-encompassing product is a kind of search for blue ocean for you?
I think so. That's actually a good point of view. I never thought about it this way, but how many companies like that? You have HubSpot?
Yeah, that's the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah, you see, that's the only one that comes to your mind. And if you think about SEO content optimization tool, there's like, I won't say the names because we don't have 2 hours, right?
Yes.
So actually, that might be beneficial, really, if we make it right. Obviously, you can always make a mistake. You can always do it wrong, execute wrong, obviously. But we'll go towards this goal for sure. And so far, so good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all these details. And this is, I think, the first interview you had on that topic, right?
Yes.
Thank you for doing that for others. And if you enjoyed it as much as I did, follow Michał on LinkedIn, meet him at conferences since he's going everywhere right now. And don't forget to subscribe and like our podcast.
I will do.
Thanks.
Thank you.